Session. Welcome to a regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. I'm Maria Haug, Board President. I'd like to introduce my fellow trustees, Lisa Pelosi, Julio Oguin, Jeannie Kerr, and Laura Simon. I would also like to introduce our district, our student board representative to the district, Ms. Macy Alvarez. Our district staff is Superintendent Dr. Mary Lou Wilson, our Chief Academic Human Resource Officer, Mr. Christopher Heller, our Chief Business Official, Ms. Andy Stubbs, our Executive Assistant to the Superintendent and Governing Board, Ms. Erica Madrigal, our IT Systems Analyst, Mr. Derek Machado, and all of our additional district and site administrators who are joining us in the audience. Director of Curriculum and Instruction, Mrs. Mary Allen. District Social Worker and Community Liaison, Mrs. Roxana Plancarte. St. Helena Primary School Principal, Mrs. Rebecca Rocha. St. Helena Elementary School Principal, Ms. Tanya Pearson. And St. Helena High School Principal, Mr. Ben Cinto. We're delighted that you're joining us in person or viewing us on Channel 27 or our YouTube channel. A copy of this board meeting video will also be available on our website at www.sthelena.unified.org. In connection with item 5A and closed session, the board received information and provided staff with direction. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, members of the public are entitled to speak on matters that are not on the agenda. You are requested to state your name and address and keep your comments concise, brief, and limited to 3 minutes.
Hi everyone, my name is Lily Desmond. I'm the Vice President of the St. Helena High School Environmental Club. I'm here today to represent the 40 plus club members at the St. Helena High School Environmental Club who believe solar power is a golden opportunity to take the big step towards a greener future for the school. Solar power has the potential to become the United...
I will let you know that it's actually going to be an agenda item. Oh, I'm sorry. This will be an agenda item, so you will be speaking to the board at let's see. I'm sorry, I'm just finding it. It's going to be item 13, the Green Initiative, and that would be where we would be discussing this agenda item.
All right.
Okay?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So we always appreciate the student voice. And
just by way of agenda and timing, because we do have a student that wants to
Yes.
speak, would you like to look for a motion to perhaps change the agenda?
yes, okay. So I'm looking for a modification of tonight's agenda to move item 13 to item 7B.
I'll make a motion to move item 13 to position 7B.
I think you mean 8C.
8C. Thank
8C,
you.
make that
Thank you.
8C?
Let's make that 8C. Thank you.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
And I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. So please let the minutes reflect that we have amended the minutes to move item 13 to item 8C. So on to item 8A. We have a presentation from our student representative to the board, Ms. Macy Alvarez.
Hello, everyone. I originally made a video. However, my volleyball game was canceled, so I'm able to be here in person. So this is my board report for the month of October. So at St. Helena High School, we held our first Student Congress meeting in September. And before our Student Congress meetings, Mr. Cinto and I reviewed our school climate report card from the 2020-2021 school year before the meeting, just so we can get an insight on what we should discuss during Student Congress, which is a meeting of leadership, the high school's leadership class with other fourth period peers to discuss, improvements we can make or what we are doing well at our high school. So rooms for improvement that we noted on our report card were academic motivation, meaningful participation, and school connectedness, which we figured related to COVID because all of these things were items that COVID somewhat restricted. Being on Zoom and feeling nervous to participate in class, we figured that would be correlated. So again, we met on September 16th, and we got really good insight from students, and leadership took those into consideration and are trying to look at ways to highlight the items that students brought to Student Congress. And then this next slide is our ballet folklorico demonstration in the quad during Access. So that was the high school's attempt to highlight Hispanic Heritage Month for all students to see, and we got a lot of students watching, which was really awesome. So, yeah. At the RLS, students participated in Walk, Bike, and Roll the School Day in cooperation with Blue Zone Up Valley, which is a corporation trying to improve mental and physical health of students in Napa Valley. And they had ASB elections, and students were very happy to be leaders and to make posters and campaign for themselves. On the bottom right-hand corner, you can see a student is passing out candy, trying to gain some votes for her running, which I believe worked in her favor, actually. So that was really awesome. I didn't get to talk to students very much because there was map testing going on when I visited the RLS. So they were busy testing, which was a bummer. So Mrs. Cox sent me these photos. And then Hispanic Heritage Month was also highlighted at the RLS with an art installment done by Miss K's art class, and it says Esperanza, Hope in the middle, which highlights the initiative even more. So the elementary school has a lot of clubs coming into play, which is awesome. They have created the Cleanup Club, which is in response to the Devious Licks. So that was a nice way to highlight how students are actually really paying attention to how Devious Licks were impacting their campus and its safety. There was a reading club where students brought blankets on the field and were all reading during lunchtime. And students have been creating posters to promote their clubs, and they would put little sayings such as, if Messi picks up a piece of trash, would you do it? And you should listen to us when we ask as well, because students were like, if you would listen to Messi, Mrs. Pierce and I talked about, like, why can't you listen to me? And, we can make our school a more safe and clean place. And students were trying to give out prizes for picking up trash as a way to keep the cleanup going. And they also had a bike club meeting, which I believe I discussed during the last school board meeting, and 25 kids attended, which was really nice. It got kids active during their lunchtime. And then at the primary school, students were using Seesaw, the learning platform, learning to trace. So this was in a second grade classroom. So they used the iPads and they had their headphones on so they would be well concentrated. And they would trace the words that were on their screen. And it's hard to see, but it looks like on the left she's tracing want and this. And yeah, that was pretty much what I saw in the second grade classrooms when I went to visit. And thank you for listening. And do I have any questions or comments? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Macy. And then next we have item 8B, which is a video presentation of the ASB at the high school.
Hello to the governing board and students of St. Helena High School. My name is Brenna Pauls and I am this year's ASB president. And it is my pleasure to introduce you. Hello to the governing board and students of St. Helena High School. My name is Brenna Pauls and I am this year's ASB president. and it is my pleasure to introduce to you our Associated Student Body Officers for the 2021-2022 school year. Hi everyone, it's Brenna and I'm ASB President. As President, I coordinate activities, represent the student body, and foster a positive campus environment. Hello to the governing board and students of St. Helena High School. My name is Brenna Pauls and I am this year's ASB President. And it is my pleasure to introduce to you our Associated Student Body Officers for the 2021-2022 school year. Hi everyone, it's Brenna and I'm ASB President. As President, I coordinate activities, represent the student body, and foster a positive campus environment. And I'm involved in volleyball, FFA, and yearbook.
Hi, I'm Olivia Smith. I am the ASB Vice President. I'm involved in FFA and I play soccer. And my duties include running elections, running the ASB Instagram, and assisting the president.
Hi, I'm Elijah Hides, and I am the ASB Secretary. I attend every student council meeting and take minutes, and then make sure everybody has access to those. And I deal with the secretarial duties of the Vice President and the President. I am involved in swim, and I volunteer at the library.
Hi, my name is Araceli Vina. I'm this year's ASB Treasurer, and I'm a senior this year. My duties require me to not only attend the student council meetings, but to also draw up the annual school budget and govern any student accounts.
Hi, my name is Nacy Alvarez, and I'm the student school board representative for the 2021-2022 school year. I go to every school site every month and meet with the principals and students and discuss what is going on their school campuses, and then report it to the board at every board meeting of the month. I am involved in volleyball, and I really like my anatomy studies.
On behalf of all of the students at St. Helena High School, we would like to thank the board for their continued support.
Okay. First, I just want to say thank you so much for rearranging. It's really appreciate it. All right. Again, I'm Lily Desmond, Vice President of the St. Helena High School Environmental Club. I, along with 40 other club members at the Environmental Club, believe solar power is a golden opportunity to take the next big steps towards a greener future for the school. Solar power has the potential to become United States' main supply of energy and help replace our needs for more conventional and unharmful forms of power generation. I understand that the district has resurfaced the idea of solar in a recent business operation committee meeting, which I think is really amazing. If the last few years have taught us anything, it's the importance of being prepared for the unexpected. Our school community has battled power outages, heat waves, wildfires, rainstorms, and even a pandemic. The ability to rely on this school to run without electricity will not only encourage education, but also spread awareness to other families in our community, presumably causing a ripple effect to extend the impact of solar. Recently, I've been talking to teachers and staff members regarding the right time and place to carry out this proposal. I was informed of a proposed plan to repave or design the senior lot near the field house. This renovation would be a prime opportunity to install a carport covering for solar panels. Solar panels, a typical solar panel payback period in the United States is just over 8 years, and if your cost of installing solar is is $20,000, then your system is going to save you $2,500 a year on foregone energy bills, and your solar payback or break-even point will be 8 years. So following 8 years, the project has a net savings for the school's budget. So I truly appreciate the district's interest in a greener future for the school, and am even more appreciative of the opportunity given to me to be able to present this information. So thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
We always enjoy hearing the student voice. Is there any other public comment on this agenda item? So, board members, do we have any questions for Ms. Stubbs, or any discussion on the Green Initiative update?
I had a couple questions, if possible, please. Do we have a confirmed date yet for any of the pool draining, if that's going to happen? It says late fall. Just was curious.
Thank you for that question. I actually reached out to Joe Perez, our Director of Facilities, today to learn if he's heard more information about the potential impact of refilling the pool on any neighbors. And so he had been waiting for some information from the city, and I'm not sure yet if he's received that.
Okay.
Then we would be proceeding with a date for doing the work, provided that there was no impact to neighbors, and after we'd notified the Business Operations Committee.
Okay. So the city of St. Helena is the agency that is determining the impact to potential neighbors.
Correct. Yes,
Okay.
they're gathering some. We've put in a request for them to gather some data.
Okay.
And provide us with that analysis.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Any other questions from board members? Go ahead.
No, I just noted in the written report that it does say that in our December board meeting, something would be coming to us regarding the solar proposal. So just that our audience members know that.
And I want to say that I'm very happy to see that we're talking about the RLS track and field as well, just because we know that this is a continuing saga of that field. So it's nice that it's continued in the conversation.
So I do have a little clarification on the RLS track and field for my benefit. The report states that that we used to get the water from the lower reservoir. It was my understanding that we're never going to get that again, correct? Because of the changes that were made to the York Dam, or am I incorrect in assuming that?
I would have to confirm with city personnel. I don't recall from conversations with them that they said that we would never be able to access it again, but we couldn't for the foreseeable future. But I can certainly circle back and confirm that with the city.
So then, actually, the lower reservoir that we were getting water from is not the reservoir that was demolished? Or I'm a little confused, maybe.
I'll have to reach out to the city and get some confirming information for the board.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'm a little bit confused.
Good to get clarification.
And then also, I do have a couple of questions regarding, and I know that this is being discussed in the subcommittee and the solar task force. I'm just wondering, are we also looking at battery storage, and are we looking at the solar projects that we've looked at in the past were all district-wide? Are we looking at an incremental approach as well as possibly microgrids or micro solar installations?
Yes, so what we've done so far is we have reached out to our consultant who provided us with the 2016 and 2018 studies. to learn more at the Business Operations Committee request to learn more about what changes may have occurred since then that might impact our ability to do a solar project. And then we've also reached out to another consultant who had responded to that RFQ before the pandemic to get the same information, just to collaborate. And then we've also asked each of those consultants to provide us with their thoughts about additional types of energy conservation projects, for example, microgrids and battery storage and things. And so they have both reached out and provided some updates, which we are presenting to the Business Operations Committee December 8th. And then at that point, we'll determine if the committee recommends that the board reissue the RFQ, the request for quotations, for us to potentially enlist the help of an energy consultant who would then do a deeper dive into each of those possibilities. So complete solar array project across the district, or if incremental made sense, and then also taking a look at the other types of projects.
Okay, thank you. And then I'd just like to reiterate for clarification that we had already put this in motion, and then in March of 2020, everything was stopped and withdrawn because of the COVID pandemic crisis.
Correct, and the potential impact as well to the district's budget.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone. We're moving back up to item 9, and that's going to be communications. And I have board member reports. I have something from Julio Oguin on the St. Helena Elementary School.
All right. So I had the pleasure to visit the elementary on October 6th, joined by Superintendent Mary Lou Wilson and Principal Tanya Pearson. Thank you for inviting me. I always enjoy coming to visit the school. And yes, that's me sitting on one of the bikes at the new racks that they have at the school. So slide 2. So this was on the walk and bike to school activity. So my daughter goes to school there, so I took the picture on the bottom with the kids were lined up, so I got there before. And again, this was a walk, bike, and roll to school day, so it was great just seeing the participation at all the schools, but specifically here, there was a lot of kids out on their bikes. I saw a lot of families walking with parents. I know that not everyone lives close to town, and we don't either, so we actually parked a few blocks away and we walked into school, which was nice. And so we had the teachers greeting students and providing, I think they were like snack bars or something. So there was a lot of participants, which is great because we are encouraging, obviously, the safe routes and then just trying to find ways to promote activity for our students. That gold shoe right there on the left, that's the Safe Route Award. So it's an award that goes to the class that has the most students that either walk or roll to school. So based on, and I'm not sure who won that one, but based on the participation of the class, it's in one of the classrooms, so that was pretty cool. And then Macy mentioned this earlier about the bike club. We talked to Principal Pearson prior to visiting the classrooms, and she talked to us a little bit about the bike club and the work that Coach Martin has been doing. So I wanted to just give him a shout out for the work that he's done there. And just they've kind of created like a track behind Carpi Field, and so it's providing opportunity for not just kids that have bikes, but also kids that don't have bikes. So they have 10 donated bikes that belong to the elementary, and one additional one that was received through the grant. And so again, they meet as a club, and they ride around the track. and she mentioned that one of the students was so happy because she said that she had never, I mean, I guess she knows how to ride a bike, but she had never ridden a bike. So just the, it's an example of providing opportunity to, students that are less fortunate. So I think it's an awesome way to incorporate participation from students and just bringing different groups together. So, and again, I think Macy mentioned that there was a high participation of students with 25. So that was awesome to see. And then again, the bike racks, there's, I think it was 2 or 3 additional bike racks at the elementary campus. And as you could see in the previous picture, that they're all full of bikes. So that's awesome to see, just more kids that are comfortable and confident, riding to school. All right, so I'll move on to slide 3. So we had the opportunity to visit the 3rd and 4th grade classes. So we visited, I think, all the classrooms. And just every time that I have gone to the elementary, I enjoy walking into class and just observing. I think it's interesting for kids when they see a bald man just walk in and just like stare at them, and I hope we're not too disruptive to the teachers, but I just like observing and seeing, especially like right now because we haven't been in the classroom for that often. So just kind of being able to walk in there and talk to the students. So I think we did, a lot of that where you're, able to kind of see what they're working on and just have the opportunity to have a little conversation with kids is interesting, that age group. So they're very vocal. And one observation was just in terms of the teacher. So we went into all the classrooms, 3rd grade and 4th grade, but just everything's very consistent. So like the lesson plan, everything was the same in each class that we went to. They were all reviewing bar graphs, so they were explaining to the kids what a bar graph was, and a lot of them had like surveys about like their favorite sport, favorite subject, favorite video game. So again, we just would ask, I'd ask them like, oh, what's your favorite sport? And then I'd tell them, oh, this is my favorite. And anyway, just had a good conversation with these little young kids that I know from just around the way. And again, you can see the teacher collaboration because and communication across, it's all threaded because everyone's doing the same thing. And what I like about it too is that it gives each teacher, the flexibility and an opportunity to teach their own style. So they're all teaching the same material, but they all have kind of their own twist on it, how they're presenting it. And really, you can see that too in terms of their classroom setup, which is everyone's different. It's different. So traditionally, when I was in 3rd grade, like everything was in a straight row and everyone sat the same way. Well, here it's all different. So teachers have the desks all configured differently, and I think it just speaks to the different ways of learning now and how kids are, or we're working with the kids to make sure that they're comfortable in their learning. So. And then this class was, let me go back to this one. The other thing that I wanted to highlight was on the back wall because Ms. Pearson pointed this out, was on the top right, it's, they have this like back area where they have, it's a 3rd grade feedback area. And so the stuff that they're working on, they have these, this area where it says not yet, almost there, and got it. So it's a place where kids can go and they can take their work and kind of compare and look to see where they're at. So it's kind of more independent, but it just allows the students to kind of know where they're at, and it also gives them like a clear-cut goal in terms of what they're trying to learn. So I think that was a theme that I saw, not just in 3rd grade, but also at 4th grade. So it's good that, that kids are understanding what their goal is and what they're learning and where they're at. So these 2 pictures were from intervention. The first one is Miss O'Connor on the left. She's doing 3rd grade math. And so again, we went in there, we're able to observe, working with a handful of students. I really liked how they're seated. She was basically, going over the work on the desk, and she was writing stuff, and the kids were, asking the kids questions. So it was very, very hands-on, and kids are able to, communicate and talk to each other. And so they were working on nearest hundredth estimations and rounding. So again, just a very visual and just gave an opportunity for kids to learn kind of in a different setting for those kids that, need a little extra support. Again, on the right, that's Mrs. Tucker's doing the 4th grade reading. So also a small group, and same thing, just very, very small groups that are able to, help these students catch up. So I think it's just I just think that we're really fortunate that we're able to provide this kind of support to our students, especially with COVID and just trying to, get kids reacclimated and caught up. So I think that's important to point out. And then this slide is from the transition program. This picture does no justice if you guys looked at the photographs in the transition presentation that we're going to be going over, but they have some really nice pictures in their presentation. But we had an opportunity to go in there as well. And the thing that I liked about it is just that we saw, I think it was over the summer, the presentation that we got where they were talking about potentially moving this over to the Boys and Girls Club. And so kind of just to see it take shape, it's really amazing to kind of see how the program is. And just the fact that the partnership with the Boys and Girls Club, it seems like it's a great fit and a great facility, and they're still on campus, but still kind of able to do their, learn their fundamental skills and things that they're of that nature. So the age group is 18 to 22. And the other thing that Miss Pearson mentioned was just the opportunity that kids are going to get in terms of working with around or volunteering like in businesses in town. So I think that that's another great collaboration, is just that they're getting the opportunity to actually put some of the skills into practice, and then doing some work at the actual school sites. I think she mentioned the coffee service, which I had the opportunity to see it here at the high school, and that was very popular with the teachers. So it's just some of the great work that's happening with this partnership, and obviously with the transition program. And that, I think, concludes my presentation. And thank you again, Ms. Pearson, for taking time, and Superintendent Wilson for joining us.
Thank you, Julio. Trustees, do you have any questions for Julio?
How big was that gold shoe? Looked big by the ankle. Looked like it took up the whole lobby.
No, it's just a regular size shoe.
Just the man the camera.
I don't know
was
whose
like,
shoe it is.
I was
oh,
like,
yeah,
no. I was like looking against the doors. And I'm like, that looks like a big shoe.
I just took a close up.
No, that was great, Julio. Thank you.
Thank you, Julio. Then now we're on to superintendent subcommittee reports. I believe there's only 2 reports tonight, and that's business operations. Lisa, are you able to give that report?
Yes, so we're already there? Okay, sorry. Got it. I'm actually, on the business operations, I think it would be repetitive if I really give you much of the highlights right now, because it's on our agenda item, and I could answer further questions, but really anything I would be telling you is going to be in that presentation,
Okay,
in that
thank you.
agenda item.
Thank you. And LCAP, Jeannie or Lisa?
Yeah, I think I'll go ahead and start. It was another great LCAP committee meeting on October 5th. Well attended as always. We do it hybrid, both Zoom and in person. We basically always welcome each other and kind of go over our agenda. Mr. Heller started us off with reviewing the district priorities, which is always a good thing to start our meeting off. And then we went on to the student achievement and outcomes. And I would say the highlight of that portion of the meeting was hearing from the principals. They went around the table and each spoke to their goals that are tied to the LCAP. And I mean, I can certainly go through all those goals, but I don't know if you guys want to hear them all right now. I mean, it's basically taking all of those goals and doing a deeper dive into engagement, into achievement, into equity. And I think my biggest takeaway that everybody should be reassured about and be proud about is, it was kind of my light bulb moment, is that between the principals and their staff, the constant striving for innovation and new ideas was present. And they were just, it's about pushing outside the box and finding ways to always level up curriculum and engagement for our students. And it was great. And it's just something that you should know that's what's happening at our sites and should be very proud of. Miss Allen went over the Healthy Kids survey with the staff and just kind of summarized it for those that were viewing. We've seen that information before, so there's no need for me to recap that for you. And then Mr. Cinto also gave us an update on the call to action for the equity, which he continues to work on with alumni and current students in the community. He stated that one of the things that he was excited about and working was, making choices on the equity. And Mr. Cinto, if I'm not getting this correct, you correct me. That you're making choices to look at the data that was more locally based in the decisions when we were pushing the equity platform. Do I have that correct? Okay, all right. Which I think the committee was, which the committee liked because it was community based and community serving by using a lot of local data. So I think those are the highlights for you. Wrapped it up and then we're also in subcommittees underneath to dive deeper into the district priorities and define those. So that subcommittee continues to meet as well. Jeannie, do you think I got everything there?
I think you have everything. Thank you
Okay.
very much. Thank you. Nicely done.
Thank you. St. Helena Teachers Association report to the board. Mr. Brandon Farrell, are you going to be speaking tonight? Oh, it's written.
It is written.
I'm so sorry. Thank you, Brandon. Does anyone, do board members, do you have any questions for Brandon? Thank you. And then the CSEA report to the board is also written. And that thank you to Ms. Avina and Mr. Perry, Ms. Avina again, and Ms. Montelli. On to Superintendent's report, Dr. Mary Lou Wilson.
Yes, thank you. First and foremost, I'd like to welcome Trustee Simon to the governing board. We're pleased to have you with us. The District of Choice application process is coming to an end at the end of November, so anyone interested in DOC for the 22-23 school year, they can access all the information on the district website that Erica is showing you right now. Get those filled out and turned into our office before the end of November. All of the timeline, everything is there on the district website. I want to thank this community. Our students and our employees have really taken the COVID guidance seriously and continue to wear masks at all times. In looking at our data, we have had some positive cases. It's averaging right now about 1% positivity rate, which is incredibly low in comparison to the state and Napa County. When we ended the school year last year, we had about a 3.2% positivity rate. So I just truly appreciate the work of all of our students and our employees and our community to support our students and our employees being safe in school. Last month, I shared with you that N3 Labs from Napa County agreed to partner with us and provide COVID testing 3 days a week, and they have been doing that for a number of weeks now. It has been in the morning from 9 until 10:30, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and that will be shifting to 10 to 11:30, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Again, that is open to the public. Any community member can register for the testing, and in the event that any of our students have symptoms and they are at home, parents can use that for testing. And remember, there is no charge for that testing service. Mazzy, thank you so much for being here tonight. Ms. Madrigal put a... What? That's Lily? Oh, Lily, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, Lily. Lily, thank you for being here tonight. Ms. Madrigal put a environmentally sound water bottle next to you, and we wanted you to have that and be proud and happy to carry that and use the refillable water station at the high school to keep yourself hydrated at school. And then lastly, Macy, you are here because your game was canceled, and tonight was senior night. And so we want to, as a governing board, honor your volleyball senior night. And I have a environmentally sound water bottle for you as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Heller, would you? Mr. Heller, would you take that over to her?
Oh, I can come grab it.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
That concludes my report. Be a senior with us.
So we now have all 4 principals' reports. I'd like to just say thank you to all of the site principals for being able to distill everything important into a few paragraphs. It's always advisable for all of our parents, families who are watching, please read these reports. It's really helpful in keeping up to date with all the things that are going on in our district. And I do appreciate the time that it takes for all the principals to distill all this information and write it out for us every month. Trustees, do we have any questions regarding this at all?
No.
Okay. I just do, oh, yes, Laura.
Learning to use my microphone. I just wanted to comment and say thank you to Dr. Wilson and the district for creating a very convenient testing site for children 3 days a week. It's tremendous, so thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. And then actually, I don't know where else to put this. I would like to recognize the students in our community that have written to the St. Helena Star and had their letters published. They're all middle school students. Ms. Cox is not here tonight, but I would like to recognize those students for their integrity and for doing the right thing, and for showing, being model students of how we should be responsible students when alternative behaviors present themselves, that they stood up and did the right thing. And thank you for all of those students, and I'd like to recognize that they are wonderful for making those statements to the entire community. And thank you to the journalism class as well. Moving on to the consent agenda, item 10. Board members, first of all, is there any public comment on the consent agenda? Board members, questions or comments?
No.
Okay. I'm just going to make one comment that that we will be discussing the contracts for Mid-Valley IT under contracts over $25,000 as well.
Right,
And,
thank you.
And I just want to point that out, that they are 2 separate contracts. Okay, so do I have a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. On to student learning and achievement, item 11. We have the 2021-2022 LCAP Accountability Plan update, presentation on the transition program. I'd like to call on Ms. Mary O'Donnell.
Actually,
and Chris Heller.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I'm calling on
let me
Chris
do the little
Heller
intro.
first.
Let me
I'm
do my
calling on
intro.
Chris Heller first.
then we'll turn it over to Mary. Thank you. And the governing board will recall, prior to our COVID-19 pandemic that has occurred, we began having conversations about a partnership with Calistoga Joint Unified School District in developing a transition program. And the pandemic really did derail a lot of that work. But, you know, through the persistence of, you know, Ben Cinto, Mary Allen, and speech therapist Nick Joy, they brought the concept back to me and said, you know, we really need to move forward on this and start the work that we did in last fall in preparation for where we are today. So I want to also thank them for being diligent and making sure that we move this forward. And so, you know, through the support of the governing board and the community, we are here today to learn a little bit more about the St. Helena Opportunities Program, our SHOP program. And Mary O'Donnell is our instructor, leader, mentor, supervisor, and possesses many talents that is going to make this program successful. And so we've invited her here tonight to give an update of where she is and potentially where she's headed. So I'll turn it over to Mary. Mary.
Thank you very much. I definitely want to thank everyone also for pursuing this program. It's really important and valuable for these students to have this chance to transition into another skill building area and really transition into the community. That's really what we want to do, is have this opportunity for all of our students at the school district to become a part of members of our community. And some people just need a little more nudging and pushing and training, and that's what we're here to do. And so I'm just going to flood you with a bunch of pictures because it's more entertaining. But I've kind of divided into 4 kind of categories that we cover. So we have vocational skills. So a lot of things that we'll be doing involves basic job training, the skills that go around that. You know, how do you interview? How do we dress for work? Depending on our job, is it casual? Is it semi-casual? All these different little factors that go into it. Routine tasks. We research a bunch of different careers, things that might interest us, and then what we need to do to train or pursue those careers. We're also learning about our community, the things that are involved in our community, how we access things in our communities, how we appropriately act in the community, and finding those things that make us happy, you know. Restaurants that make you happy, being able to shop, understanding how money works, understanding how to research things, right? Like the cost at this one store versus this store, what can I afford, what can't I afford? All those little things that sometimes we don't really think about because we're just so used to doing those things. We need to practice those and really research that of how, you know, we don't want to be taken advantage of, all these different things to be members of our community. Personal skills. When you're in high school, middle school, elementary school, primary school, we have all these cool clubs and organizations, all these opportunities to learn about being social and finding things that we like. And then we become grown-ups and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I really have to make an effort to make friends as a grown-up, and it's not always that easy, or they're not right in front of me like they are in my classes at school or in the clubs that I like. So we have to research what's around us that we can participate in that we might like. I play roller derby. It's not for everybody, but that's something that I had to research and find for myself, you know, to make me happy. In addition to personal skills, relationships, dating, things like that, you know, really talking about the appropriate way that we move forward in our life and how we can find those things that can bring us happiness. And then daily living skills. Some of the students in the class may get to live independently some days, some won't. Some could live in group homes, some might live with their families. But even if they stay living with their families, we want these students to be contributing members in their households. There's all these skills that they're able to do just like we can do, and we just have to show them that they can do it and not just expect mom to do it for them all the time. So it's really important that they build that confidence in those skills. So some of the things that we're doing in the program, we're very fortunate to have Mr. Joy. So Mr. Joy comes to hang out with us a lot and do lessons on different parts of the community also. We have been, some of these pictures from the beginning of the year. So we've been able to prep different materials for the class because it's a brand new program. So guess what? There's lots of prep work to do. But it actually pairs really nicely because it's office like clerical skills, which could come in handy in a job field someday. It also means that now I have students that are trained to use those cool binding machines to make books
So if there's a class at the elementary school who's written cool stories, my class can now turn their stories into books for those kids to take home and have. So there's all these little cool things that we can cross over into other programs, which is really fun. The other thing that we are working on is personal hygiene. Like I said before, looking presentable, understanding when to wear certain things at certain times, but that also goes with making sure I have deodorant on, making sure I know how to use a shout wipe if I accidentally spill something on my shirt and I'm at work and I still need to look nice. All these little things that we need to have in our back pocket and ready to go to make us, presentable members in society. Some of the activities also that we do is practicing taking orders. So the nice thing is, because we're right across from the cafeteria, my students work with each other to take orders. So they every week someone has a job that's snack order and lunch order, and they're responsible for asking each person what they want and then reporting back, going to the cafeteria, requesting the items that someone has ordered, and then bringing them back, which is a skill that can transfer over if they end up working in a food industry, things like that. So really thinking about those little things that we do every day that can contribute to a potential job in the future. Right off the bat, we got hired to do some weeding for the 5th grade team, which has worked out great for us because now we have free access to all these tomatoes, so now we get to make salsa. We've also discovered our lunch person each week takes a look at the lunch menu on Monday. They go through the lunch menu and they decide how they can enhance each lunch meal. So for example, on the days that we have sandwiches and things like that, they'll go to the garden, pick tomatoes, and they'll prep slices of tomatoes to enhance the sandwiches at lunch. Today was tacos, and the student on lunch this week decided that chips and salsa were an important thing to pair with tacos. So when we went shopping this week, we bought chips and salsa to help enhance our lunch this week. So thinking how we can build upon our daily meals. We've been working at the public library, working on our dusting skills. If anyone needs some dusters, we have some very skilled, detail-oriented individuals who can make sure that you have no dust in your house whatsoever. But it's been really fun, just the few weeks that we've been able to go, is seeing the evolution of a student not wanting to work sitting on the floor, and then within 2 weeks already taking ownership over their whole section of the library and making sure nobody else invades their space and actually getting their job done. We've had a couple presentations come in. The Napa, we had a representative from the Vine come down and talk about how we use the bus system, how the bus system in Napa connects to different areas, how you can use the shuttle in St. Helena or Calistoga, having the different apps on your phone so you can see that. We've recently got bus passes. Thank you very much. So we'll be able to do training on how to take the bus, which will be kind of a fun, exciting process for everybody. We also have a former student that happens to work at the Boys and Girls Club, and they were nice enough to come and speak to the class about what it was like to get a job, how the interview process was, what was required for the job when they got hired, and then they've been there for a while and how they've worked their way up in positions at that job. And the students got to ask a variety of different questions based on what that was, and hopefully we'll have more people come in. But it's really important to have people come in to say, I didn't have a college degree, and this is what I got to do, and I started in high school and I really liked it, and now I'm the director of this program at the Boys and Girls Club. And it's kind of exciting to see kids that I knew when they were in middle school, have these cool jobs and be really proud of the work that they've done. Part of the community training is safety in the community. I'm sure you have all witnessed it, but it drives me bonkers when I'm driving and you just see kids crossing the street, on their phones, not even looking. So it's sort of one of those things where every kid should know how to cross the street, and you think kids know how to cross the street, but man, once you have that technology in your hand, it's so distracting. So sometimes we got to go back to basics and say, hey, phones away while we're walking, while we're crossing the street. Same with the train tracks. We have trains in town, something to be aware of crossing. Personal, social skills, finding things that provide you joy. Mr. Pauls was nice enough to come out and provide us with a nice dodgeball workout session. We've also found a couple different social games that they really enjoy playing, and it's really nice to see some of these students really bond socially and be excited to play games with each other, because sometimes that is a struggle for some individuals to have those social skills. So it's been really exciting for me, who taught all of these students when they were in middle school, to see how much they've grown over the years and how their friendships have grown over the years and really become friends with each other and not just classmates. Like I said, enhancing our lunch is important. In addition to enhancing school lunches, we also do a lot of different cooking activities. We are making turkey BLTs in this one, but we started off with some really basic recipes and talking to some of the families of what do your kids like to eat at home? And I'm going to let you know that some of those things they can do themselves at home and you don't need to do that anymore. So even this starting with, we have one student who loves quesadillas. This is how we make it in the microwave. You can do that on your own. Once they've mastered that over time, then maybe we, step it up to the next level. But it's really important that they take ownership over their own food, their own diets, and understanding what they're putting in their bodies. Let's see, cleaning, sweeping, this is our cooking, just all different activities to really learn about everything that's going on in our community and how they can contribute. Sweeping, did you know a lot of people don't know how to properly hold a broom or sweep? So we practice sweeping, vacuuming, all those different skills. Shopping has become a regular thing for us, which is really great. I have some students that know that grocery store like at the back of their hands, and others that want to hold your hand through the whole thing because they have no idea where anything is. So really seeing them build their independence and confidence and learning the layout of their grocery stores is important too. And then just being fun. So now's the time where I have my sales pitch. We need the help of the community. A big part of this program is being in the community. So we have the opportunity to work with Department of Rehab for business opportunities where they will actually pay my students to be your employees. We have the opportunity to volunteer at different businesses, and we'd love to find businesses in town who are willing to partner with us and work out different ways that we can teach them job skills. I think a lot of businesses don't realize that there are all these little tasks that actually could be done with someone with some disabilities and really provide joy to that person's life and purpose to that person's life. Right now, that's sort of our big mission, is finding business contacts and partners. In addition to finding places where we can go and work or volunteer, I would love for people to come in and talk to us what they look for in employees, what's valuable in employees, what it's like to interview people, what they look for in interviews, and really just exploring different businesses. We'd love to tour different businesses. We just want to be out and about to learn about anything that could interest any of these individuals for the future of where they might want to work. So come help us. But I'd love for all of you to come visit, check us out. Please feel free to ask any questions. I talk really fast and I'm sorry, but I know that everyone has a long evening. So if there's anything else or any questions, please feel free to ask.
Thank you. Is there on the presentation? Trustees, comments and questions?
What was the age group of the students you work with for them?
They're 18 to 22, so they've all graduated from high school, and this is the next post-secondary program for them.
I want to say I really commend you and the other staff for putting together a program for after our students graduate to help them have continued success. It's vital, and I appreciate how the St. Helena School District not only teaches our kids up to graduation, but make sure that they become successful young adults too. So I commend you. Thank you.
How many students do you have, Mary?
I currently have 7.
7, okay.
And Mary, how many of those are from, we also still have some from other districts? Is that true?
I have 2 from Calistoga and 5 from St. Helena.
Okay. But we do have MOUs in place if there were any other students from other districts, say Angwin or Howell Mountain or Pope Valley, correct?
They would be our students already.
They would be our students. I'm so sorry.
If they've chosen our high school, yes.
Of course.
Ms. O'Donnell, just so you are aware, which I'm pretty sure you are, but you have quite the stellar reputation among the community of what you're doing at that transition program. So, as Trustee Simon said, you are to be commended because, people I don't even know personally would stop and say, have you heard about this transition program? It's amazing what's going on over there. So that's a lot of that rests on your shoulders. So
Thank you. And if they own a business,
yeah,
I'm
going to tell them that.
Unified.org.
Absolutely. But yeah, this is wonderful stuff. So thank you for
Thank
all
you
that
all.
you're doing.
I had a quick question, and also, I mean, to commend you, the work that you're doing is very admirable, and obviously you guys are doing a great job. Are all the participants, do they stay until they're 22, or is there like if they're from 18, are they not required, but how do you guys?
Yes, so they're not required.
No, yeah, but how do you guys
but they have the opportunity. And then what happens is when they age out, it actually falls on the families to find other programs unless, a job training has worked out really well and an employer decides to hire them. So typically what happens is then they partner with some of the organizations down in Napa for more career opportunities or training on that way. But yeah, so you typically, depending on when they turn 22, they either get to finish the semester of the year and then they get to go off to other programs and hopefully get jobs and yeah. Thank you all.
Ms. O'Donnell, thank you very much for everything that you and your team are doing. I was looking through those pictures and it's just, wow, you're doing amazing work. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
What are the hours of your program? Are they the same as the school hours?
The students are there from 8:30 to 1:30.
8:30 to 1:30. Thank you.
One more question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any partnerships set up, like, that you feel?
We have a couple in the works, but
Okay.
I don't want to
that's
put
fine.
stuff out until
Alright.
it's solidified.
Okay, yeah,
Right.
thanks.
And then if we're to visit, should we contact you, or what's the best way during the?
Sure.
or
I mean,
the-
you're always free to pop by,
Excuse me.
especially if you're on the elementary school campus,
Okay.
and hopefully we'll be there.
Okay.
But yes, if you want to arrange a visit, just please email me and
Okay,
we'll find a good time.
that's awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next on to item 11B, we have a written report on student discipline for the 2020-2021 school year. So I would like to remind the board that this is a written report. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Board members, comments or questions?
No, I thought the data was clear.
I just want to, just reading this, it's, I guess I'm going back, so when I was elected in 2010, and that the number of suspensions and expulsions at the time was relatively high, and it was something that the community was very concerned about and things. And so to see where we're at now compared to where we were is amazing. And I'm going to just read it straight out of this. It's St. Helena site administrators and staff should be very proud of their prevention efforts in lowering the district's overall suspension and expulsion rates. And that's exactly true. I mean, it's everyone as a team taking care of our children. So I truly appreciate everything that they do.
Yeah.
I was really struck by how we have through PBIS and a lot of the programs that we're using, we've really been able to turn around our suspension and expulsion rates, and I really am happy that the board has made this an important priority. I will share, because I was with Mary Lou today. She was acting principal at RLS, and I can share a little bit of information that, or maybe Mary can share it, that there is no need for the Saturday school this year, because they have not had a need for Saturday school suspensions, because everyone's doing really well. So that's also good news.
That is really good news. Yes, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. On to item 11C. We have the written report on the 2021-2022 English Language Learner ELL Master Plan. And I'd like to remind again the board that this is a written report. However, I would like to open it to public comment. Is there any public comment on item 11C? Board members' comments or questions?
No, thank you as always, Ms. Allen, for this, and I appreciate you highlighting the information that was new and edited for that. I now notice that obviously we're going to probably have maybe a little bit of a lag in this updating to this with the COVID year. Is that going to impact how the next report comes out or the next because some of this data is like, it's 2017. So as we revamp a master plan, then there's going to be, I would imagine, a gap.
There'll be a gap in the data.
Okay.
That is correct.
Okay. And is there anything that we would do on a district level to mitigate that for our own benefit? I mean, would you backfill that with any kind of, district data that you could just gather from our schools?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
We can still, when we look at the map data,
Okay.
I can break that down per program groups. So we have a lot of data that we can collect separate from what the state is collecting. But I think, the overall of this report is that all the systems and everything that we're doing, we keep building and building and building. So the only thing that's going to have a lapse is going to be what they call the EPI, which is the English Learner Proficiency Index. And so that's going to be the lapse because they don't have the state data. But we just started testing last year, so we only had 1 year of a gap. So we'll be fine. The charts are all new, so I just wanted you, the red is new and the charts are new.
Board members, any further questions? Julio?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for the report. I know it's an extensive report, and I know you've put a lot of time and effort and with other staff members. I just had a question, and you just kind of hinted about building and building. You've been working in this, involved in this kind of work for a while now. So is there kind of an observation or a shift maybe in the approach that you've seen like over the 10 years of how we like work with English language learners? Just from where we're at today and maybe like, I don't know, 5 or 10 years ago. That you can
Absolutely. Actually, first of all, I want to thank each site because I think we do a wonderful job with what we're doing with our EL students. And I think the addition of having the social worker, the add-on of the social worker, and that's Roxana back there for anybody that needs to know. One of her charges at the very beginning of the school year is to focus on our ELD ones, our newcomers, and she has done a fantastic job. And I think it's the connection of all of the stuff that we're doing with our ELs. It's not just about the academics, it's making sure they acclimate to the American system. And she's doing a great job. And she's creating some interview questions, she's working with the families. So that component alone has made this program go by leaps and bounds this year. But prior to that, we've been building and building and building, and our curriculum, our delivery, the teacher training, all of that is making us get better and better with dealing with our English learners and helping them get to a level. I feel like our reclassification is high for this district, that it really normally takes us 5 years to get a kid reclassified from an English learner to a reclassified fluent English speaking person. I don't know if that's what you were looking for, Julio, but yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Jeannie, you
Thank
had
you very
something?
much. No, thank you very much. I really enjoyed the report and all of the history and things that was implanted that was part of the report. So thank you very much. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your time with that.
Thank you. So on to item 11D. There will be adoption of the resolution 2111 declaring Red Ribbon Week from October 23rd to October 31st. And actually, I will read it out tonight because I didn't get to speak to any of you beforehand. I don't want to I don't want to spring that on you.
Thank you.
Whereas the governing board of the St. Helena Unified School District values the health and safety of all individuals, and whereas substance abuse is particularly damaging to our most valuable resources, our children, and a contributing factor in the 3 leading causes of death for teenagers: accidents, homicides, and suicides. And whereas it is the goal of Red Ribbon Week and the St. Helena Unified School District to involve families, schools, businesses, law enforcement agencies, and service organizations in all aspects of this campaign, and establish an atmosphere that supports awareness, education, and ongoing initiatives to prevent illegal drug use. And whereas the Red Ribbon Week campaign theme promotes family and individual responsibility for living healthy, drug-free lifestyles without illegal drugs or the illegal use of legal drugs. And now, therefore, it be resolved that the St. Helena Unified School District and all schools hereby support Red Ribbon Week and the positive reinforcement it provides our students and communities. And it is further resolved that the governing board of the St. Helena Unified School Districts hereby supports the proclamation of October 23rd, 2021 to October 31st, 2021 as Red Ribbon Week in the St. Helena Unified School District, and encourages its students, administrators, faculty, and staff to participate in drug awareness, socially distanced activities, and make a visible statement that we are strongly committed to live a healthy life. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Trustees, questions or comments?
No, I don't.
Is there a motion to adopt Resolution 2111 Red Ribbon Week as presented?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 2111 Red Ribbon Week as presented.
Macy, would you like to cast a preferential vote?
Yes, aye.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. On to item 12A. So we are into discussing and confirming the assignments for the Adopt a School program. So we do have a vacancy for the assignment of a board member to the St. Helena High School. Sarah, Miss Laura Simon, are you interested in adopting the St. Helena High School as your?
Yes, I would love to.
Okay,
Great.
thank you.
That was easy.
Thank you. So that will be one very fun, since you have young children,
Yeah.
you get to see where they're going to be someday, and that's really, it's really, I think it's actually an exciting thing.
Me
as a
too.
board
I'm
member.
excited.
So on to item 12B, review of the superintendent subcommittee assignments. So again, we do have some vacancies due to Trustee Minter leaving the board, and they happen to be on the Curriculum, Technology, and Innovation Committee, Equity, Inclusion Committee, and the Business Operations Committee. So the rest of the board, do you have any desire to change any of your committees? I'm hoping that we're all.
Yeah, and I think these are great committees for, to start. I mean, especially the business operations, that's a really great, I mean, those are really great introductions to diving in deeper in those topics. So that's my personal take on it, unless you feel differently, of course. But I think that's a great way to get your foot in the door, so to speak.
Yeah, and I don't prefer to, I mean, I'm happy with the committees that I'm on. Mm-hmm.
And this was kind of why we Trustee Minter had them, because they are good committees to really get up to speed in a lot of different areas in the district.
Great.
So,
Sounds great.
okay, so Ms. Simon will be filling those 3 vacancies on the Business Operations, Curriculum, Technology, and Innovation, and Equity Inclusion Committee. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, and then on to item 12C, Adoption of Resolution 2112, recognizing a state of emergency and authorizing teleconference meetings pursuant to AB 361. I'd like to call on Dr. Mary Lily Wilson.
Yes, thank you. I know you all recall that in March of 2020, an executive order was signed by Governor Newsom allowing public entities governed by the Brown Act to meet virtually. And there was a time where our meetings were completely virtual, and then also a time when we had hybrid meetings. We did go back to in-person meetings last year. That executive order expired on September 30th of this year, and then Governor Newsom put into effect AB 361, which does allow the continuance of virtual and or electronic meetings with a few additional stipulations. There needs to be an emergency within that particular school district. That could actually be power shutoffs. It could be due to COVID-related emergencies. And this resolution needs to come before the board on a 30-day cycle. And so tonight I bring it forward to you for discussion as an action item with a presentation. In the event that you deem that this is appropriate and important to put into place for the next 30 days, I would recommend that we move it to the consent calendar and continue to approve it throughout the year and actually through 2023 when this Senate Assembly bill expires. So at this point, I would recommend approval, and then I would take it to consent following this meeting.
Is there any public comment on this agenda item? So trustees, we're looking also to have a motion to approve, and then is everyone comfortable with this being a continuous resolution on our consent agenda? I just feel that
Yes.
the things that we are going through, the uncertainties that we have with power shutoffs, fires, and
Yes.
everything else, it is a prudent move. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I have just a quick
or- oh,
question.
okay, I'm sorry.
No,
Further
that's okay.
questions?
So as far as the 30-day approval, so say that there is a power failure or something on the PSPS, do we have to send notification then of not going into or to start a virtual meeting then again, or? And it's kind of logistic, and if you are not sure, that's fair. I mean, that's.
Ms. Madrigal, are you aware of those details?
Similar to how we ran the meetings prior, when we post a notice of an agenda, we indicate that it is a virtual meeting and that we do have to offer members of the public a way to provide public comment in real time. So we would use the Zoom feature to do that.
Right, okay. Because that was the one thing that I thought, it says we have to do the public comment in real time. So the Zoom feature, we're set. Okay, perfect.
And you mentioned a power outage. So if the power outage was at the level where we could not hold an in-person meeting, we would probably need to cancel because we wouldn't be able to hold
that's fair.
a
It wasn't
virtual
a good
electronic
example.
meeting.
Yeah. And does that preclude, so say that there's one of us that is quarantined, are we able to participate at the meeting then, or not?
Yes, you may participate virtually and you will not have to abide by the full Brown law teleconferencing where you would have to be in a public place and things of that sort.
And posting
Yes,
and things,
absolutely.
okay, great, thank you.
Okay, thank you for those clarifications. Is there a motion to approve the adoption of Resolution 21-12 as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Macy, would you like to cast a preferential vote?
Aye.
Is there a second?
I'll make a second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next, I would like to take a brief break, just because even we do get tired, everyone wearing their masks and speaking into microphones. So we will be returning at 7:30 not according to that clock, but according to the actual time on your screens.
How are you, Dr. Wilson? Good. How are you? I'm good. Yes, Roseland Prep. Yeah, it was super nice. I mean, they had things set up, and our JV teachers, and they let us hang them up. No, it was super nice. Oh, did you? I'll show you a picture later. Oh, I love it. Let's see. No, it was so nice because it was a bummer to have our senior night canceled, but our parents all went. So we got our flowers, and then I have another picture. My coach had this here, but yeah, no, it was awesome. Oh, yeah, they had balloons. Oh, nice. Because there's 5 seniors this year too, so there's a lot of us. It's not just like, oh, there's one of us. No, we've all been on a team together since middle school, so we're super bummed. But we'll be recognized at the homecoming game now too, which is we get like more than we expected. So, yeah. And we also have a game in the rally, so it's like, yeah. Are you sure? Absolutely. Because you know what? Tonight I actually do have a. Is that
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Do you want to meet our president's board member?
Yes.
And I'd like to maybe closer to the so that we can just
Yeah, totally. No, that makes sense. I know this month was a little funky, but I will definitely check in with you. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Bob. Sentimental sucker for all my friends. Oh, about the place. Can you do like we have like a dinner night or something like that? So Lower League was the team we were playing against tonight, and they had a COVID case. So this is the second time they've had a COVID issue with us. The last game, I think, so they ended up testing negative, but there was like a COVID scare. But yeah, so we had to cancel this official games. It wasn't like enough notice. But we got honored at Roseland Prep in Santa Rosa. And then we're being honored at the homecoming game. Okay, great. And we have a boys versus girls volleyball game rally. Okay, so we get a lot more than we expected. But you know what? It works for us. So yeah. Okay. But it's good. No, that's good. We got a good game and yeah, I know. I love this whole tradition. Oh yeah. And the sentimentality that truly I've adored for it. So, but I'm glad to hear all those. Yeah, no, I was very happy to hear that we got
It was
all that. I just heard the happening. So it's exciting. Okay, things are happening in general. So no, I know. I'm wondering what the weather's like out there for them. I know.
But this now ties out perfectly.
Our nice tent setup and everything. I know. It's just I know. I hope next season or next year they'll be back in the pack. That's what I'm hoping. I mean,
Basically, it was just like your, the voc ed.
Well, thank you for being here. Just didn't know. Okay, we'll see you next time. Have fun homecoming. Thank you. What's the theme? Are themes announced or not yet? Yes, it's fairy tales. Fairy tales. Yeah. So it's going to be a pretty garden and lots of lights and yeah, it'll be fun. I'll be sure to put it in my next board report. Yes, please do. Yes, I will. All that stuff. That's the fun stuff. Yes. Bye, everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Nico's getting married. Remember Nico Lopez? Oh, he's going to the wedding. Yeah, all of them are going. There's like eight or nine of them.
Oh, that's right. He lives in Florida?
Yeah, because he's in the military. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so he's very excited because he hasn't seen some of those guys in like 2 years. So he's very excited.
Nice. Yeah, 'cause I wanted to,
Oh, yeah, that's where Joey will be. Yeah.
Maybe you should go to the wedding.
I was gonna say.
Right, because he's in the military.
I know, but I didn't know whether he was in the,
Yeah, I guess there's specific other weddings in the Bahrain, but he flies into like Pensacola. Him and Kyle are on the same. So you guys might see each other.
I'm not gonna be here until Saturday, but I might see someone on
Okay,
Saturday.
yeah.
I'm gonna go see Aaron.
Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, all right.
It'll be like music on there at the airport in Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
What are you doing here?
I didn't know if it was this weekend. I had heard about it, but I didn't know it was this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an easy flight to get to Pensacola. I mean,
No, it's not.
and I was trying to tell these guys, I'm like, you can't just stay through Monday, like you're going a long way for a weekend wedding.
Yeah.
But they're young, so I was
Oh,
like,
exactly. They can, are they doing August up in Dallas? Are they doing it?
I think it's Dallas, yeah. They're Houston.
Houston, Dallas.
Yeah. I'm like, really, why don't you come back? No, we're gonna come back Sunday night. I'm like, no, leave Friday morning, come back Sunday night. Okay.
So long, but they're so young.
I'm not young. Yeah, but like, well, that's part of it. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, Joey's flight's at 7:30 tomorrow morning from SFO, so it's taking him at like 4:15 a.m.
Oh my God.
I know. I was like, oh, are we real money for this, or you don't? Yeah, that I know is good, but like, I'm gonna be up really late for the board meeting. It takes me a long time to go to bed. Exactly, trying just to make my case, a little happiness.
What's the temperature?
It's not, I looked and it's gonna be like in the high 70s, 80s. So it's not.
Oh, nice.
It's gonna be nice.
Yeah.
It's gonna be nice. Yeah, it's nice.
No, he's the only one that can't go because of his job. Yeah, but truly, there's like 8 or 9 of them.
Well, they don't like it this one.
Yeah, exactly.
It's on Saturday, is the wedding on Saturday?
The wedding's on Saturday. Yeah. It's pretty funny because some of those young men at age 22 are not really, they're not very organized with best men.
Oh, no.
Joey's like, so what's the plan for this? Oh, like, did we do something for that? He's like,
Oh my God. I always feel bad for like the first wedding of friends because they're the guinea pigs.
Yes,
Then
for sure.
Then it all gets figured out after like the 8th, 9th, 10th wedding.
I'm like, do you guys want to get him a wedding gift? We are his wedding gift, Mom. We're going for the wedding.
Yeah.
The wedding gift. I'm like, okay, I'll send the wedding gift. And their defense, I get what you're saying, because they're paying, between lodging and food.
Totally, yeah.
To get
It's
down
expensive.
There, they're like, we're it.
Oh.
So, we'd like to rejoin the meeting. We're on to item 12D. And this is the written report on the St. Helena Preschool for All program. This is always a highlight of the year. Jeannie, you can speak to it also first of all, it is a written report, and I'd like to see if there's any public comment from the audience.
I'd
And
actually,
And
if I can.
So
I'd-
you will be
with
our public comment.
right.
Okay, yes,
Yeah, if I
okay.
can.
Julio?
Excuse myself.
Okay.
feel like a game show coming down. So I excuse myself because I'm the executive director of St. Leon Preschool for All. So I just wanted to take a moment to thank a few people that have been a big part of the Preschool for All in this evaluation. So Stephanie Perry, who is our consultant, she did a lot of work on this over the summer. And then I just wanted to acknowledge Mary Allen. She was tasked with pulling the data for our evaluation, and I know that it takes a lot of time to put that together, so we really appreciate the time you spent on that. And then just the district support for this program. I know that I spoke on this last time, but just the evolution of the program, we've come such a long way. Jeannie can attest to this, just from where the program started to where we're at now. It's been 11 years, but the impact that we're having, not just with the kids in the program, but just the families as well, is something that we're starting to notice, not just in the district, but also in our community, just more parent engagement. So that's something that we're really excited about. And just the opportunity of looking, we looked at data from 8th graders, so kids that were on our program when they were in preschool, and just to kind of see the positive effects in terms of them being active learners, highly motivated, and looking to get support if they need it. So that, and coupled in with the strong parent engagement piece that we're noticing at the district, or at least I notice, and hopefully the district does as well. I see a lot of our Preschool for All families on the different committees in the community, and so that's kind of the biggest takeaway that I'd like the board to know, is that just we're helping a lot of families get acclimated and orientated to the district, and I think that that's going to build some of really good foundations and relationships in terms of moving forward and having these families be successful in the district. So just wanted to thank everyone that's been part of Preschool for All over the last 11 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further public comment? Board members, comments or questions?
No, I'm fine. Go ahead, please.
I would think, I mean, kudos to you as well, Julio, on running this program, because as I was reading this summary and, the key findings, you can't help but then all of a sudden tie this all together with like the ELL report that we were, reading, and then our LCAP, and you see how all these things are just so woven together to make such a difference. And this is where, things like your program here are the foundation for what propels these kids as they go forward, built in with the other supports we've got, and with the work that the ELL, the master plan, and now we have the social worker. It's just one big beautiful collage, and it's and I just kind of love it. And it's just great. I mean, and you should be so proud of how much it's grown and how successful it is. So congratulations.
And I just want to thank, first of all, I want to thank the board of the Preschool for All. We have 2 board members here. And well, he's the executive, 4. There's 4 board members because Principal Rocha, you are now a board member. That's correct, right? Okay. And then you're the executive director, so you're also on the board. Yeah, that's true. So, so there are 4 board members, and I want to thank the board. And then we also have to thank our community support that has provided a lot of financial support for this important. As we know, the district started with the seed money, but the community has really stepped in and provided money for the expansion of our services to so many families, and now we're at age 3 for students, correct? Yeah, for quite a while now. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. We already addressed item 13A. On to 14A, business operations, we have the Measure BC bond program, and it's a financial summary as of September 7th, 2021. It's a written report from Ms. Andy Stubbs. I'd like to remind the board this is a written report. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Trustees, do you have any comments or questions on the Measure BC bond program?
I had one question. It's just a refresher, actually, if you would, Ms. Stubbs. On that remaining balance in that line item, I think it's like $540,000. Is there a time limit on that? Like to spend that money?
No, there isn't.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. I just couldn't remember. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? On to item 14B. We have a public hearing on consideration of approval for the elementary and secondary school emergency relief ESSER Round 3 expenditure plan. I'd like to call on Miss Andy Stubbs.
Thank you. Districts that receive funding under Round 3 of the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Act are required to develop an expenditure plan which must be approved by the board and submitted to the County Office of Education. The attached plan was reviewed by the LCAP Steering Committee on September 14th, 2021, and I would like to go over just a few highlights of the plan with the board at this time. So let's see, page 2 summarizes the 3 categories under which we are planning to spend the funds and the overall amounts. And so you can see there that we've got strategies for continuous, and I need to look at it myself there. Strategies for continuous and safe in-person learning, and we've budgeted approximately $400,000 in that category. Addressing lost instructional time, and a minimum of 20% of ESSER 3 funds must be spent in this category, and we've budgeted approximately $735,000. And then the use of any remaining funds, and we've budgeted $800,000 here. The next section talks about community engagement because it's important too, and we have certainly over the past year and a half garnered community input in terms of how we're managing our COVID response actions and then also expenditures. And then if we look at page 4, we can review some additional detail about the funds that are set aside for continuous and safe in-person learning. And so here we're earmarking funds to use for additional PPE if needed, HVAC systems, replacing the filters and the portable air scrubbers that we have in the classroom, and then any additional personnel costs associated with performing testing or providing substitutes in the classrooms, those kinds of expenditures. Then if we take a look at the next section on page 5, we've received quite a bit of additional COVID federal and state dollars that we can use for expanded learning to support students during this time. And so these dollars bolster those efforts, which is great. And we have until September 30th, 2024 to spend all of these dollars. And so this allocation here will help us carry forward our efforts to provide additional instruction by way of intersession, summer and winter intersession, and before and after school activities, and expanding some paraeducator time, at least for a portion of that time period that we have to spend the dollars. And then the final category, the $800,000 that's set aside, as the board knows, we have, the pandemic has definitely impacted our property tax revenue projections. And so we are allowed to use these funds to cover some of the expenses that we might have to revisit in terms of making some budget reductions going into the out years. And so, for example, we can use these dollars to cover counseling and intervention services, outside mental health support, those kinds of things. And so this particular set aside of these funds will go a long way to helping us address that budgetary deficit, projected budgetary deficit that we've been talking about. And in fact, The most recent financial reports that the board has seen where we have a budget deficit in the out years, that budget deficit has been reduced by the use of these funds for that purpose, and we'll learn more about that at the first interim report. Now, if it turns out that we don't need the funds to help to sustain some of those services because our property taxes come in higher than what we're projecting at this time, then we can reallocate those dollars for use for additional expanded learning support or additional supplies and materials related to keeping kids in school, those kinds of things. So we're budgeting for within these different categories at a very high level, but we can definitely move the money around as appropriate. And so with that, I would ask the board to, if they have any questions about the expenditure plan.
I was just wondering, is the, oh, I'm sorry, we should have public comment first?
Yes.
Yes. And it has to be, I'm sorry, it is a public hearing, excuse me. So the public hearing expenditure plan is now open at 7:43. Comments during this public hearing should be limited to the ESSER 3 expenditure plan. It is our goal to hear from all who wish to be heard. We invite members of the audience to address the Board of Trustees on the sufficiency of instructional on the ESSER 3 expenditure plan only. For anyone who is attending their first public hearing, we do wait 60 seconds for all potential public comments to come forward. This public hearing is now closed at 7:44 p.m. Do the trustees have any questions about the ESSER 3 expenditure plan?
I do not.
So I do have a question. So is the distance learning through Napa Unified, is that using ESSER funds? I didn't see it there. Or is that coming somewhere else?
No, we don't have to pay for that. We have an MOU with Napa Unified, and so they receive just the regular revenue funding from the state for those students.
I see. Okay. Thank you for that clarification. Is there, trustees, is there any other questions? No. Is there a motion to approve the ESSER 3 expenditure plan as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Next, we have item 14C. The review and consider approval of SHHS gym foyer renovation project and the Athletic Hall of Fame using donated funds. I'd like to call on Miss Andy Stubbs.
Thank you. There's been some significant community interest in implementing an Athletic Hall of Fame project in the main gym foyer of St. Helena High School. And so we presented the project information to the Business Operations Committee on October 13th during a special meeting of that committee. And during that time, the committee reviewed the project concept, estimated costs, and proposed funding sources. And so this is the entrance into the foyer in front of the main gym that we're talking about on the high school campus. And then this is a schematic design that was prepared by an architect that was solicited by a community member, Jim Gamble, who has a particular interest in this project and who has volunteered to take responsibility for doing the fundraising for the project. And so in this schematic design, you can see the main gym and then where the proposed Hall of Fame would be, which would be in that foyer entrance into the gym. And this is a schematic it would look like on the inside, with columns and plaques and so forth for each of the years and the inductees in the Hall of Fame. And this is a more detailed schematic, and all of this was presented to the Business Operations Committee. And then this would be a pre-schematic design budget that outlines all the different costs and a total cost of approximately $543,000. And what we mean by pre-schematic is that while an architect on behalf of Jim Gamble did some initial concept work and developing some design work and so forth, this would be the projected scope and costs before the district has hired its own architect to go through and do the design for the project. And so you can see all the usual costs outlaid there for demolition, the soft costs associated with bonds and insurance and so forth, electrical, architecture, and then our construction management costs as well. With regard to project funding, the proposed funding would be 100% donated funds. And as I mentioned earlier, community member Jim Gamble has volunteered to be responsible for the fundraising. We discussed all this with the committee, and the feedback was that they did support project implementation, provided that it is completely funded by donations. Participants were also interested in learning how much more it might cost to expand that the Hall of Fame installation into the ticket sales area. So if we look back here, oops, that's laser doesn't quite work on the screen, but it would be that ticket sales area, the section over to the far right that doesn't have any red in it. And so the participants were interested in learning how much more it might cost to expand the exhibit into that area too, and then also perhaps do something different with the window, if I recall, so that they could, people that were collecting the tickets could see the activity in the gym and so forth. So we would want to wait until, if the board decides to approve the project as proposed with the funding sources of donated funds proposed, then we would want to take that idea to the contracted architect and learn how much more it would cost to extend it into the ticket sales area, and then work with Mr. Gamble to determine if we're able to raise enough, if he's able to garner enough additional funding to extend that into that area as well. So project implementation would begin pending board approval and receipt of the donated funds. And then the next items that the board would see would be the contract with the architect and so forth coming to them for review and consideration of approval. And so with that, I would ask if the board had any questions.
Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Board members, comments or questions?
I have a question. I haven't been on the high school, in the foyer of the high school campus. What's currently in the foyer?
From what I recall, and I may ask if Principal Cinto can come up to the podium and help me out with that one. From what I recall, there's a few plaques in some areas for trophies and things.
Yeah,
like
there's a lot of older trophies. It was actually a student project, I believe, in the 70s or 80s that students built some display cases, but that's pretty much it right now.
Okay, and also how will the Hall of Fame improve the campus? What is the, I'd like to know the need of the Hall of Fame.
So, I mean, just physically, I mean, that's a space that we'd actually been looking to kind of spruce up because it's kind of old and dated, and could use just physically some sprucing up. But I would say, in terms of the local history of the area, there's, even this weekend, I'm headed to the Hall of Fame event Saturday night. But there's a lot of local history here in terms of community support and people who really appreciate their time here at the high school. And this would be basically paying homage to those individuals who've dedicated a lot of time and effort, not only student athletes, but coaches along the way. I know Gordon Anderson is one of the individuals being honored tonight, who was a teacher here for many, many years, still doing work in our community. So it's really honoring past and present and future, to make sure that, and it's a beautiful space to do it, and convenient space to do it.
Thank you.
I just wonder, is this something that we have to submit to DSA? I didn't see how that, I didn't see DSA fees, or maybe they're buried somewhere, called something else.
I believe they're included in the soft costs in the bottom, and I do believe that there are components of this work, yes, that would have to go to DSA. And our project consultants with Greystone West went through all the different needed components for the project and included that in their budget.
And how long is DSA looking at now with the current situation? I mean, we're really, until we get the DSA approval, this could be a long, and the funding. What is the time frame most optimistic time frame that we're looking at?
Well, the most optimistic time frame, if the board chooses to approve this project with 100% donated funds this evening, the most optimistic time frame would be that we would be able to implement, construction would begin in the spring, even before the summer break, because that way the gym would be available for use without any issues during the summer. But it could go into the summer, just depending on all those different time frames and so forth.
I just had a couple questions. First off, and we might have, I think we heard, or I heard the presentation when I was on the business operations like 2 years ago, so he might have mentioned it, but is the district involved in the selection of the members, or is it just this individual group that selects who goes into the Hall of Fame? Or is it like a separate group aside, or is there like district?
I will have to turn that one over to Mr. Cinto again, if you could come to the podium.
Yeah, they have a complete nomination process that you have to complete in terms of filling out, accolades over the years and things that they've accomplished, or there's another category for individuals who might not have had school athletic records, so coaches or other individuals who could be nominated, but there's an entire process to nominate, and they have several people that got nominated and selected by the governing, I guess it's a governing board, throughout the year.
Yeah, but I guess my question is, is there any district like staff or people, or is it just this group of like community members that are, maybe Brandon, thank you.
Yeah, some of them are old timers, like Jim Gamble's on the committee. Greg Hunt started it. I'm not sure if you know Greg. He passed away a few years ago. And then Mr. Hoppy's on there. And then now Jessica McCornack is also represented on that committee. So they have, I think there's like 7. But I don't know exactly. I think, yeah. Yeah, there's yeah. Ms. McCornack, our female PE teacher, is on the committee.
Mr. Cinto, could we clarify the potential passing of Mr. Hunt? Is that accurate?
Jim Hunt.
Jim Hunt. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just in case somebody's listening.
So, did you have any other questions?
Yeah, just one more, sorry. And with the, like if there's any repairs or upkeep to this section, are they responsible for that? Or is it going to be like the district end, or they're just setting it up and then like in the future?
Well, I imagine like all of our buildings and facilities, we would need to be responsible for any upkeep for it.
But I'm wondering, Julio, is your question more like, say one of the cases gets a broken glass or something like that? You know, is that what you're thinking is like, would the district be responsible for repairing a cabinet case, or is that the Athletic Hall of Fame committee?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, so who is responsible for that?
That's a great
Yeah.
question. We didn't, I mean, I understand actually from a facility standpoint,
Sure.
walls and floors and lights, but maybe that is a question to get clarified on behalf of that committee, you know, if something like that were to happen.
Correct, and potentially we could request that they build a budget in for that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what would they, if they happen to collect more funds than, I mean, I'm questioning, I'm sure they're responsible. Would they be doing something with funds, extra funds? If they are collecting funds specifically for this project and there's funds left over, do they have a plan for that?
We didn't discuss that. I think Jim Gamble, who's claimed responsibility for focusing on the fundraising for this, felt pretty confident that he could raise the funds for that, the amount that you see there. Yes.
And just to let you guys, I mean, as somebody who sat in on that meeting, you know, there was great consensus and support for this project from the Budgets Committee. The one conversation that happened was about that ticket table section not being, you know, not looking like it was left out, if you will. I mean, obviously the flooring would continue to, you know, and the paint and whatnot, but there was discussion that it didn't look like, that it wasn't like part of the Hall of Fame kind of thing. Not necessarily that the cases or things like that would carry down to the end, because, you know, obviously you have parents there that work the ticket tables, that collect the money and want to be in that place because it's covered, it's warm, it's all that kind of things. So there's a potential that they, you know, that it could change a little bit, not drastically, was my understanding. But there was discussion of, well, give it some thought if we're going to take any of that down that way. But initially, I think the proposal in front of us is just to approve what's in front of us right now. But just to know that that was a conversation that did happen in the meeting. Mm-hmm.
So my question, Ms. Stubbs, is, so you mentioned the pre-schematic. So now is this, so if this would, as far as the architect that we have on record, do you think, in your experience, will there be an increase, do you think, in this in this budget? Or do you think it would probably be pretty close?
In my experience, Greystone West has been very accurate with their budgeting. They're very good at providing districts with budgets that are realistic and include all the expenditures. So our consultant that we've typically been working with at Greystone West actually went to the principal, Todd Lee, and gained some assistance with developing the scope and budget with his help. And so I feel pretty confident that the numbers you see there will not change as a result of then the formal architect review.
Okay, perfect, great, thank you.
I'll make that motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. And then on to item 14D, review and consideration of approval of contracts over $25,000. Like to call on Miss Andy Stubbs.
Thank you. And earlier this evening, the board did indeed see a contract with Mid-Valley IT under contracts under $25,000, and that was a separate standalone contract for just some very high-level help with networking and network management. Also in conjunction with the current vacancy that we have within the department, but then also just to assist staff with some larger more involved projects on a small scale, and that contract was for $5,000. And if we use up the $5,000 and we need additional services, then we can increase it, or rather pay another $5,000. And so with that original item under the consent agenda, we'd ask the board to ratify then a budget for $10,000. And we feel that that'll be more than sufficient to help us with kind of those higher level network management needs and project support. This particular contract that you see here with Mid-Valley is for a general technician that can work with us on site full-time for up to 4 months. Because, as I mentioned, we do have a vacancy within the department that we've been attempting to recruit and fill, and it's taking some time, just given trends in the industry and with employment out there. And so the equivalent position with Mid-Valley IT would be this general technician, and so they would recruit for and hire the person and train the person, and the person would be their employee, but he would work on site for us and perform tasks as directed by the district. And so we're anticipating that we would need that for approximately 4 months while we catch up with some work within the division, and then also recruit for and hire our own IT specialist, network technician. And so it would cost approximately $60,400 for the 4 months, and that represents a cost of approximately $20,000 more than on top of what we would be paying for our own employee in that position. And for that additional $20,000, Mid-Valley IT is taking care of all the recruitment, all the hiring, and all the training, and then also providing us with some remote support. And I was pleased to learn that it also included some technology planning services too within that. So they call that their Hercules package. And so we really do feel that we're getting a good value, even though we have to pay a little bit more. But additionally, if the timing works out right, and Mid-Valley sends us an employee that's working out well for a couple of months, and we still have a vacancy that's open, and they are qualified for it, they may go ahead and apply for that position without penalty, provided that we do the timing of the 30-day timing of notifying them that we no longer need their services. So it's also a good way to try and potentially find an excellent candidate out there in the industry. And so with that, I would ask the board to consider approval of the contract with Mid-Valley IT.
Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Trustees, comments or questions?
So, Andy, just to clarify, so in that scenario, what you described about, it's 4 months, that person could apply for the position. Conversely, if this employee is 30 days into the job and we get an applicant that applies to work for St. Helena Unified directly, we just have to give 30 days notice. So we would still kind of stagger those employees, if you will, so that we don't have, okay. Maybe I just needed to say it out loud, so thank you.
Correct.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
And given the timing, it could be that we hire somebody and we still have the IT person from Mid-Valley, but then that person would still be beneficial because we've been working to get caught up with projects and things like that in light of that vacancy. So,
thank you.
My comment is that it's very difficult to be in our location and to be able to recruit for these jobs, and we've seen that over and over, that school districts are really always competing to get IT personnel on a long-term basis, because there's always so many opportunities out there for these highly skilled individuals. And I think that that finding a company that's willing to do so much of the legwork for us is just a wise thing to do, because of the experiences that we've had in the past, and just the way the situation of the job market in that industry. Any other comments?
No, I was gonna say the same thing, where it's like, it's when you mentioned that there would be part of the recruitment, hiring, training, and, more technology training, that right there is really helpful for us. It'll really assist us, and we're getting someone experienced in there to do the job while they're doing the recruitment and things, it sounds like. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
So they'll find somebody who has the skills needed to be able to perform the work that we need, and then if they need additional training, Mid-Valley IT can assist with that.
Okay. Right, thank you.
Thanks for being proactive and finding a solution.
Yeah,
That was
absolutely.
great.
So is there a motion to approve the contracts over $25,000 as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carried. On to item 15A, future agenda items. We can see it up on the screen. I could read them all out, but it's just easier to look up there. Jeannie will be hearing from you at the RLS. Okay. And then now I would like to adjourn to closed session. Items A and B, our second closed session items for the evening.